What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for stopping by on this lovely, kind of cool Thursday night. I'm Jeremy of Movies Are Terrible, and son of a bitch, there went my monetization. I lost my people, man. I just now had them on screen, and it all fell apart on me. This happened before, and it was like an intermittent kind of thing. Sometimes it would come back on, and other times it wouldn't. Oh, what a shame. So, as you guys can't tell, I'm joined with two very special guests who I'm happy to be welcoming back to the channel. This is actually, wow, this might be both of y'all's first time on the pod. No, that's not right. Julio Diaz of Let's Go Pensacola and Pensacon, and my buddy from here in Pensacola. What's up, Julio?
Hey, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm good. Did we do a podcast together?
I don't think so. I think I've only done trivia.
Nice. I love it. We are christening the podcast Movies Are Terrible Live. Actually, I was fortunate enough to do a recording session with Julio earlier today on Let's Go Pensacola. That is AM 1620?
Yeah, 1620 AM or 92.3 FM.
Nice.
That'll be on at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, Central Time.
I will post a link down in the description so you can check those out. You guys, we talked a little bit about Christmas movies and more today. That was a fun conversation. And also joining me for the first time on the podcast, and these are fellow competitors from the DC Universe trivia that we did a couple weeks ago. Martial arts film freak himself, Tristan. What's up, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody doing?
I'm good. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we are doing this together. I'm glad that I've actually got you both on the screen at the same time. Things are looking up, man. And my dog's in the other room barking. It's Thursday. This week's almost over, and so is the year 2020. But that is going to open up this whole huge conversation that we're having because there's some stuff going on in the world of movie news for once. Feel like the past 6 months have just been like nothing but fluff pieces, me digging through the bottom of the barrel like, shit, what kind of Snyder cut news can I come up with this week? And no, something happened today that has kind of shaken the industry and the future of theaters to its core. And this was brought to my attention by Julio just a little bit before we started recording. So we're definitely going to be touching a little bit on this Warner Brothers / HBO Max move to put all sorts of major tentpoles out available on their streaming app, HBO Max, which is fast becoming the premium subscription service that you could possibly get. But before we get into movie news, because I think we're going to dedicate quite a bit of time to that, and then we're going to talk about spoiler etiquette afterwards. But I don't think I've had a chance to talk to either of you guys about the Mike Tyson and Roy Jones boxing match and all of the undercards that happened underneath that, because I got this really cool thumbnail, right? And I don't want it to be false advertising. So we got to dedicate at least 30 seconds to talking about boxing. Julio and myself, we're Pensacola residents, and so is the man, the myth, the legend, Roy Jones Jr., one-time heavyweight champion of the world, also middleweight champion there for a while. He's obviously an icon here in the community. And Julio, I know that you've been in the world of journalism and entertainment journalism for many, many years. Did you ever have the privilege of speaking with Roy Jones Jr.?
Not in any kind of formal interview setting, but I've met Roy a couple of times. Great guy and is a great representative of Pensacola for sure. He's always put Pensacola first. And part of that is because he was told all his life, you'll never be able to make it coming out of Pensacola. So when he gets in the ring and says Pensacola in the house, that he's showing people, watch me. And he did. He's one of the greatest boxers of all time.
And he does. He reps it so hard. And I love that because how many times do you hear it?
Roy's a very good guy. I have actually judged a bartending competition with him once.
Okay, that's cool.
And then I've just run into him around town. You can't live in Pensacola too long without eventually meeting Roy, because he still lives here. He still represents Pensacola. There's a lot of other guys, a lot of other great athletes that have come from Pensacola that don't live here anymore, and maybe they do a little bit around town here and there. I know Emmett Smith was just in town, but Emmett doesn't live here anymore. Emmett is not a regular presence in Pensacola. Derek Brooks, he's got an ownership stake in the Blue Wahoo, so he's a little more involved locally. But Roy is here. Roy lives here. He trains here. This is his home.
So, I've been a diehard boxing fan forever. That's one of the few sports that we actively kept up with. But, I was born right there in that era where Kid Dynamite, Mike Tyson, came onto the scene and was just knocking dudes' heads off over and over and over again. We played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on the 8-bit NES back in the day growing up. And so I was always very, very invested in the world of boxing. Mike Tyson's kind of reign was throughout the early to mid 1980s. Roy Jones was kind of more of a 90s era boxer. And Tristan, I know that you're a big fight fan in the world of fiction and film. Does that carry over to something that you're into in real life?
So I have never been the biggest boxing fan. I don't mind watching it. I've been more into MMA over many years. But I can get excited to see a guy who's a legend come back and just do a little exhibition match. But other than actually keeping up with like who's boxing, unless it's like the big names, whenever Pacquiao fought Mayweather, I was like paying attention to that. But if it's not something on that huge a scale, I don't know what you're talking about.
I just now realized I've got friends in the chat and I've not been paying attention. We got King of the Hills 34, Geisha Warrior, the Silver Side. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. I know you're probably ping-ponging back and forth, and it means a lot to see you all in here. Mark McKeever, Patrick McCabe, Abbas B, you guys are the best. The Pablooni, McLovin, Random Andy's channel. I got a $5 super chat. Oh, excuse me, a 5 kroner pound super chat. Oh, okay, it's a pound. I know Alex W, and he says, here's some cash so that you and Pastor can phone one another and coordinate your lives. Trying to listen to both of you right now. Yeah, impeccable timing. Geisha Warrior, RIP Team Terrible. Aw, McLovin, 22 kroners, I believe. How we doing today? Hope you're terrible. And right back at you, McLovin. I really do appreciate the super chats, you guys. And again, I appreciate you stopping by. I know that you guys are stretched thin between multiple channels doing all sorts of content regularly. So just seeing you show up puts a smile on my face, and I'm wearing it, you guys. Random Andy's channel, $5 super chat. Watching you and Pastor at the same time. This is terrible timing. Get the pun? Oh, I make myself laugh. Very well done. Very well done, Random Andy's channel. And if you can bring yourself happiness, that's all that really counts. Because at the end of the day, you just got to sleep with yourself in your own head. So, make yourself laugh. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I do appreciate you guys coming by. I know Pastor didn't. He just wasn't thinking about it. You know what I mean? His schedule isn't quite as formal, I suppose, as mine is. And I'm sure the last thing that he thought is, oh, I'm going live at the same time as Jeremy at 6 p.m. on Thursday nights. Jim Loves Art. Welcome back, my man. $2.99 super chat. Now, this is a lunch break. Man, where you at? Eating lunch at 6:08 p.m. I'm so glad to see you in the chat, though, man. Always a pleasure. Welcome back. Jay Wolfie, moderator love. Oh, man, you guys are the best. Let's see. We got Patrick Stewart. All right. And I am at the bottom of the chats. Thank you guys for being patient with me. I did want to just shout everybody out real quick. Okay, so I hear you with the MMA thing. I really do. That's something that growing up I was also a very big fan of. It was when it became a more credible sport that I kind of fell out of love with it. I feel like it used to be like a martial arts movie, like a Street Fighter
Right.
or a
It used to
Mortal
be very
Kombat.
Bloodsport.
Yes, Bloodsport. That's a very good analogy because there wasn't an MMA. It was like you've got
Right.
your
You had a Muay Thai fighter, you had a Taekwondo fighter, you had a sumo fighter.
Yes. And there was something about that how polarly different the fighters would be that made it just incredibly interesting to watch, where now everybody is grapplers. Everybody's got striking game, now that it's more integrated and all of the martial arts are being used. I'm sure that there's more technical stuff to be said about it. However, I just don't find it to be quite as entertaining.
Back then you had stars. Back then you had stars because they would win for their specific style, like, your Gracies. Now, since everybody is sort of the same style with a few variations, someone like a Lyoto Machida from, almost a decade ago, which is sad, who would, he did MMA, but there was a lot of karate on him. But it's, same thing I think with boxing, to where every boxer is almost sort of the same style with some variations. And in order to be a star like a Mike Tyson, you had to stand out. And Mike Tyson, of course, being just that huge knockout power.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Mike Tyson was just able to penetrate just anybody's defenses. They could have their gloves up, and he would just get up under them and with that left hook and just freaking take their heads off. And it was a sight to behold. So all of that said, to bring it back around. Yeah. So all of that to bring it back around to this fight that happened over the weekend. We got a 51-year-old Roy Jones. I might be off a year or two by the age, and then like a 63 or 54-year-old Mike Tyson. And I've seen training videos of Mike Tyson getting in shape lately, and despite all of that, maybe it's just my bias, I was like, dude, he is not going to be able to hang with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson just doesn't have the endurance. He got into podcasting and film and all of these things that aren't boxing, where Roy Jones, he continued to box. His last match was like 3 years ago. I mean, the dude continued to do the thing. And so I was like, he's the better technical fighter. He's gonna end up coming out looking fantastic. And boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Did either of you see the fight? Julio, did you see any of it?
I didn't see it, but from everything I read about it, even though they called it a draw, that was kind of a suspect thing. That people that actually watched the fight said that Tyson far and away won it.
Yes.
But the way it was scored by, I guess, one particular judge led to it being called a draw. And there's some thought that may have been something that was decided beforehand, that they were going to go out and neither of them was going to go for the knockout, and they were going to have, it's not like, this is the Olympics or even any kind of, title fight or anything like that. This is an exhibition match. Not saying it's WWE, but it's a little more casual.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both of them did have a little bit to prove, but as you said, and I think that's a very valid point, there wasn't the same kind of stakes. There wasn't a belt on the line, and I don't know, man. I feel like both of them looked pretty good considering their age. A lot of people have kind of dismissed the entire thing as being like a hugging match, and I'm like, man, a lot of times heavyweight boxing matches would go that way, especially if they went the distance. Come like round 6, the dudes are just like laying on each other. You know what I mean? So yeah. I wasn't completely
upset.
Tyson
Tyson was never known for going the distance.
Yes, you're 100% right about that.
For knocking people out in the first 2 seconds of being in the ring, and that was it.
There is such a psychological element to boxing, and every time you would see Mike come into the ring, you could just see the killer instinct in his eyes, and it was almost as if the fighters were just like, if I can just live through this, that'll be a good enough win for me. So I dug it. I enjoyed the fight. There was definitely a lot of like 90s nostalgia. Snoop Dogg performed. He did a lot of really good color commentary on it. But what's interesting and what kind of ties this to our world is that Jake Paul, Logan Paul's brother, two of the biggest content creators on the YouTube platform, have really embraced this whole fight culture, which I think is so interesting because when you have it all, I mean, what else is there other than to just get rocked in the fucking face over and over and over again for money that you don't need? Tristan, do you have any like familiarity with the Paul brothers other than the Suicide Forest or what?
Yeah, it's mostly just the crap, just a lot of the garbage.
Yes,
I wanted to start liking. Which one is it? Is it Jake that boxed over the weekend?
Yes,
I wanted to start liking him because there was a video recently. The thing of the One Direction guy's name I'm blanking on because I don't listen to popular music.
Harry Styles.
Yes, there was a thing of him wearing the dress, and there was a video of him like on a podcast like supporting him. Like the host went to talk crap, and Jake Paul like shut it down.
Oh, that's
cool.
So
I was like, oh, maybe I'm gonna start liking Jake Paul now. And then I saw he got the knockout, and I was like, oh, maybe Jake Paul's cool now. And then I saw some video of like before the fight, or I read some interview where he was just like, COVID's a hoax. COVID's not real. Everything should just go back to normal. And I was like, oh, Jake Paul still sucks.
Yeah. Gotcha. It's so amazing that you would use a platform with 25 million plus subscribers to peddle that kind of bullcrap. Like, regardless of what your personal feelings are, what if you're wrong? You know what I mean? Like, is that the kind of risk you're willing to take? And I suppose it is. And,
if you read that full interview, it's hilarious, though, because he's so confident. And by the end of the interview, the interviewer like schools him on a bunch of like COVID related stuff. And then by the end, Jake Paul just like wants the interview to be over because he knows he lost.
Yeah, he's like, why are you being mean to me? You set me up. But all that said, yeah, he sucks. He's definitely the heel, and he freaking took Nate Robinson.
Mhm.
It was almost sad. It was almost sad because Nate Robinson had never boxed before. There was a lot of trash talking going leading up to the event, and Nate Robinson is known as an NBA player who is incredibly proficient at being able to dunk, and especially at his height, which I would imagine he couldn't be taller than 5'8". I don't know. Maybe he's 5'10". Jake Paul had several inches on him and several inches reach as well, but Nate Robinson was doing this like very I'm reckless is the best way I could do it. He was running when the bell got rung. He would run in towards Jake Paul, and
I heard he was just rushing in. Yeah, I saw the little bits I saw. He rushed in like there was zero strategy. Like the whole thing was just brawl.
Yeah, like he wanted to hurt Jake Paul because of whatever, but he didn't have the form. He didn't have the skills. Jake Paul's only had one professional fight. I'm sure they both trained a lot for it, but it was brutal, and he knocked Nate Robinson out within a couple of minutes. Nate Robinson hit the mat 3 times before it was over, but so all of this stuff said, and then we'll transition over to some actual movie talk. But Julio, what do you think about the future of boxing in context to it being more of a WWE style entertainment thing where there's not titles and stuff on the line, but it's more just pitting random people up against each other for fun?
I think you're going to see more of that. I don't think that's going away. I mean, it's existed before. It's not like it's completely new either.
Right.
It's just, there was a lot of hype around this particular one because of who it was. And there's been a lot of talk about where does it go next? Do we see like a Tyson Holyfield rematch? Is something that's been out there in the ether.
Yes.
Which, I actually randomly met Evander Holyfield about a year and a half ago. Literally, like, walked into a restaurant in Pensacola and Evander Holyfield's sitting there.
Oh, really?
Dude could definitely still kick my ass. So.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say for all of us. That's cool, though. I had no idea that Evander Holyfield came to Pensacola. What restaurant was it, if you don't mind?
Which is closed now. Unfortunately, it was a Burger Factory on 9th Avenue.
Sure. No kidding.
Apparently, he was doing some kind of clinic, and I guess he's originally from somewhere near here. He's not from Pensacola, but like, it's Atmore, Alabama.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
so
not too far at all.
The state line.
Yeah.
So I guess he comes back to the area every once in a while and does clinics and things like that, and I guess that's why he was here. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, and I don't think a lot of people know that because he didn't stay here. He moved away, and he wasn't known as being from this area, but I guess originally he is.
That's really cool. Tristan, as somebody who is more into the MMA fight scene, and as we kind of alluded to, the boxing scene was really big in the 80s and 90s. Would you be more interested in seeing things continue in this direction, or do you think like where the money is at is having these same people who want to compete go into the octagon, the MMA side of things?
I think that it's important for the sport to have boxing at its purest form, but there's definitely something to be said about like the numbers that this drew.
Yeah,
with like celebrities and nostalgia fighters coming in. So maybe there is a world where that's blended, but that's hard to say. I don't know. I wouldn't watch like a celebrity boxing and nostalgia boxing, but granted I don't watch boxing, but like maybe there's a way to rejuvenate the boxing scene, which seems like it's fallen pretty far since then. Maybe there's a way to rejuvenate it by keeping its pure fighters and having this sideshow sort of thing that happened and putting that together into one show. Maybe there's something in that.
Yeah, sideshow kind of thing. I like that.
Yeah, I think there's a more legit this is a more legit way to do it, where you're talking about people who have fighting experience, have been in the ring, and yeah, maybe they're not current competitors, but they are competitors, they are athletes.
Yes.
Than something like a celebrity boxing thing, which has been done before, and there was even a TV series, a celebrity boxing TV series.
We've all seen Dustin Diamond throw down.
Completely ridiculous. Just I don't need to see Danny Bonaducci fight. I don't know, the kid from Silver Spoons or whatever.
But, I didn't know I did.
20 years though. Go back 20 years. I'd love to see Danny Bonaducci in The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
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 That dude's got like a legit karate background.
Yeah.
Reggie from the Silver Site, what's up, buddy? He says these are all very good points. Thank you very much. I agree. I agree with you, Reggie. But no, dude, always good to see you in the chat. Thanks for coming by. All right. Well, yeah, that's kind of. I just wanted to share my thoughts with somebody about it. My buddy Alex of Momentum Media is like, dude, did you pay for that? I just feel sorry for the people that paid for it, because you literally woke up on Sunday morning and all of it was available for streaming for free, but it's not the same. To me, the $50 that I spent on the live event was very worth it, because for me it was a rewind. It was a trip back to the 1990s, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But yeah, Tristan,
I heard it was it cheaper than your average boxing event?
I don't know what an average boxing event costs these days. I felt like that $49.99 feels like just how it's always been. Maybe it was less than that. I'm not even sure.
For me, but I'm also a broke person.
My whole experience with pay-per-view is just the John Cena prank call. So.
Oh yeah. Well, for the folks that may not know about the John Cena prank call.
Oh gosh! If you haven't seen that, go check it out. After we're done, search on YouTube for John Cena prank call and watch it. But apparently, these guys that do a radio show have a recurring bit where they prank call people that at the behest of their listeners. So this guy had bought a wrestling pay-per-view. His wife got ticked off at him, read him the riot act. We're never doing this again, blah, blah, blah. So they called the wife trying to sell her on a John Cena pay-per-view, complete with like the whole like big time wrestling announcer voices and the John Cena entry song playing in the background and the whole 9 yards. Drove this woman nuts. Just she'd hang up on him, and then they'd call back and like say, "Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm just calling to see if you're a supporter of the U.S. military." Yeah. Well, there's a Marine that needs your help. No. And his name is John Cena. It's amazing. It's hilarious.
So, all right, we'll go ahead and transition over. This isn't something we got to touch on long, but this is the weirdest story. Y'all heard about the zombie minks?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so let me see if I can do this justice without pulling up the article. Let me try to explain this the best that I can, and then maybe y'all can help build this this fantastical version that I've created in my own mind. So there were a bunch of minks, which are small, like rodent-type creatures. I thought they were
weasels.
Yeah, they are. And I thought, for some reason, I thought they were cats with pointy ears, but that's something else. Is that a minx? And not a mink with an S, like
links,
plural?
yes.
Something like that.
That's right, Julio. One letter off, man. LM. So I was close. So these minks, they're used for coats. Everybody knows about mink fur coats. And in Denmark, they cultivate them in the same way that we have, pastures for cows and for beef production. They had millions and millions of minks that they were preparing to turn into coats. So they were all going to die anyways. Well, what happened is apparently these minks were really good at spreading coronavirus to each other, and people were afraid that by allowing them to pass the virus on, that it could potentially mutate into a version of the virus in which the vaccines that we're working on could potentially be immune to. So they decided, fuck it, nothing else to do now except cull these over 15 million minks. And, it's terrible, it's inhumane, all that kind of shit, but they were going to do it anyways. But what happened is they had this big mass grave, and they buried all the minks in it, and apparently either from the gassing or just from the gases that we produce inside, any biological creature produces inside its body, the ones at the top of the pile started breaching and coming up through the ground. And so now they've got these dead animal carcasses that they're going to have to unbury and then potentially incinerate. What a shit job that would be. But
that should have been the first thing. I don't know why they buried him in the first place.
Burning them seems like any pandemic movie I've ever seen. I don't give a shit if it's Night of the Living Dead or The Crazies. You got to burn zombies. I mean, it's just known.
Well, it's what happens when you build your mink farm on top of an ancient native burial ground.
That's a really good point that I did not think about. Yes, the indigenous people of Denmark not very happy about what they're doing with the minks, and this was a kind of a way to get wrath against the people of Denmark, who are apparently people still wear fur. I didn't even know that was a thing anymore. I mean, I know we wear leather, but I thought PETA shut it down.
I'm pretty sure it's mostly just rich people.
Say what?
I'm pretty sure it's mostly just rich people.
Yes, maybe that's why I have no connection to it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of, like whose zombie movie would this be where it was like zombie mink coats? Would this be like RuPaul's zombie movie or like a Kardashian or something like that?
Stephen King made a movie about angry cell phones. I'm pretty sure it's him.
Yes. Yeah, Cell, man, classic book that one is, dedicated to George Romero, actually. So that
I mean, we've already also had a movie called Zombeaver, so
this is a lot like that. That's actually a really good call. So that's weird. It's morbid. It's strange. It's weird news.
Because there's worries.
Zombie versus the Canadian version, and then the Minks is like the Beverly Hills version, I guess.
But there's like worries of like where they buried it could like contaminate like a local like water source. There's a worry of like animals eating the risen carcasses that could then spread it even more. So yeah, no, when there's already so many factors to think of, just go with burning. Just burn.
Yeah. Do you even have to dig it up? I mean, if you hit it with high enough firepower, I don't know. I guess you would.
I mean, depending on where you buried it, just uncover the hole and set it on fire.
Have either of you guys, have you seen any pictures of it?
I have not seen the pictures of like them like rising. No.
Okay, yeah, me neither. Julio, you?
No, but my mental image now after what Justin was just saying is Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood coming in with the
flamethrower.
Anybody order fried mink?
Or you just get out there with the mallet, and it's like whack-a-mole. Every time one comes out of the ground, you just hit it over the head, and it goes back into the hole. I don't know.
I don't want to know where the tickets come out of when you do that.
We're workshopping it. We haven't quite figured it out yet. You guys let us know how you would deal with your mink problem in the chat or down in the comment section after the video is posted. All right, this is super dope. I don't know if you guys saw the actual video of it. I sent you a link to a 60-foot tall giant Japanese Gundam that is functional. The thing fucking stands up and sits down and moves around. It is a Gundam, and it is super cool. Are we going?
I mean, if COVID wasn't a thing, sure.
Oh, yeah.
If I had more money. But apparently it's also like super slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like apparently the videos of it like standing and kneeling and stuff are like sped up because it moves much slower than that.
Ew, I did not know that.
Yeah. I'm sorry I bursted your bubble there.
You son of a bitch. No, I mean, it makes sense, though, because I was actually watching, because I'm a huge dork, was watching a video on Dangerville yesterday on YouTube that was essentially which version of Godzilla is the most realistic biologically, and they were talking about how things of that size, it would all, I mean, obviously with something mechanical, it would be quite a bit different, but just how, because of how long it takes for like synapses, like for your brain to make a decision and then it travel to your hand to move the hand the way you're thinking, it happens instantaneously at this size. But if you were the size of Legendary's Godzilla, it would take like 1 full second between when you said take a step, and when you actually took a step. So I guess the whole point of that is like once it gets to a certain scale and a certain size, speed becomes very relative.
Yeah, I ain't even going to talk about the whole speed on like how long that would actually take something that giant to move, because I once played a game of Super Fight where somebody had a car that was like Godzilla as faster than a speeding bullet. And I was like, I don't care. It wouldn't actually be that fast. He's too big for him to be that fast. And I lost that fight. So that topic still hurts a bit.
Ouch. Yeah. Well, you were right, man. For what it's worth, if we could retroactively change that ruling, I would support it. Julio, well, I mean, is it cool to see for you? Were you a Gundam fan growing up?
I'm not a Gundam fan. I have my various giant robot things that I like, but that's just one I've never watched. But I mean, it's cool as hell to see. I want to know when they're going to start flying.
Yeah. If the Gundam could come and pick me up and take me back to Japan, I would be a bit more interested in going. I mean, Japan is definitely a bucket list place for me. I've always wanted to go. I think there are lots of cool attractions there. In addition to just like Tokyo looking super awesome. So I would like to do that. And then there's now a Shin Godzilla attraction as well, which is like a gigantic bust of Godzilla. I think it's got a museum or something on the inside of it. But
is that the one where you can zip line into Godzilla's mouth?
Yes, yes, that is the one. That is the one.
That sounds terrifying just based on the Godzilla they chose. Shin Godzilla is terrifying.
He really is, and that bottom jaw like disconnecting when he pukes out his atomic breath is real strange. What do you think about that movie, Tristan? Have you seen Shin?
Yeah, I think it misses a lot of the points of the original. I think the original is very much about the people of Japan, you know, and their reaction to Godzilla, because of course Godzilla is this allegory for you know, the bombs, and then Shin Godzilla focuses it never really focuses on a single citizen, and it only focuses on like the government's reaction.
Yeah,
which I think misses the whole point. I
can totally get where you're coming from. I think that's a valid point. However, I kind of like it because of that. It's a much more bureaucratic take on this idea of like, yo, how do we handle a 500-foot tall dinosaur monster, which I liked it, but I am kind of in agreement with you that there were so many human characters that it was almost impossible to get invested in any of them.
It's also like sort of like the first one's the allegory for the bombs. The second one is, you know, an allegory for the nuclear meltdown and the earthquake and the tsunami. So I guess it, you know, that just messed up. So, you know, granted, the bomb messed up a whole lot of people's lives, but the natural disasters just ruined a lot of people's lives.
You know, it's really the central metaphor is climate change, I think, more than anything else.
In Shin?
In Shin, yeah. Which is just, you know, it's a different premise to start from. So, yeah, it is going to be different. I really liked it. You know, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and claim that I remember every frame of it or anything either. I saw it in the theaters, and I haven't seen it again since. I would like to watch it again.
Did you see it at one of our theaters?
Yeah, they did a Fathom event with it.
Super cool. Super cool. The only one I ever saw was Millennium. That's, I know that's a divisive film. The reason I'm on this Godzilla kick right now is because I am in the midst of working on a video called Is It Terrible? Godzilla 2014. And I think right off the bat, most people would say, like, nobody really ever said it was terrible, but it's interesting because a lot of my friends that are very big Godzilla fans had issues with it. So I've decided I was going to make a quick little video kind of exploring some of the critiques and then talking about whether I think they're valid or not. This small little Is It Terrible video that I am working on somehow turned into like a 30-minute pilot for a documentary on Godzilla 2014, which is like, I don't even think anybody cares about this movie, so we'll see how it does, but it's definitely a labor of love. So those of you that are in the chat right now, watch my fucking video, please. I'm spending so much time on it. And while you're at that, make sure that you are subscribed to Martial Arts Film Freak on YouTube, and definitely make sure to check out Let's Go Pensacola, because while it is called Pensacola, the discussions that we have, I would say, are universal, huh, Julio?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the format of the reason it's called Let's Go Pensacola was because originally the format was talking about things that you could do in Pensacola. Well, there's a thing called COVID, so
Yeah.
it became where there wasn't, and I was like, well, I'm just going to do the pop culture show that I want to do, and it was always an element of the show because we'd always talk about movies and things like that, but really for this year, it's been whatever I feel like talking about in pop culture for the most part. So we do talk about movies a lot. Like I said, the show that'll be on Saturday is all Christmas movies. And if you don't live in Pensacola, if you have the TuneIn app, if you search for WNRP on the TuneIn app, you can listen live when it airs at 4:00. But then we put it up as a podcast early the following week, and you can get that on Spotify, on Apple, on Stitcher. So it's out there. But don't let the title fool you.
No, I really enjoy doing it as well. But yeah, for those of you that are checking this video out, I am not a fixture on the show. However, I am a regularly rotated panel member. So he's got all sorts of great guests from the area, whether they be filmmakers, cosplayers, other journalists, all sorts of different cool people who we, I guess, have kind of met through this pop culture sphere, which is how Julio and myself know each other. Julio actually, for a very long time, and I'm sure we will get back to it again, if all things go accordingly, but he has a movie club here in Pensacola that's like, go to the movie theater, watch a movie together, and then go sit down and discuss it afterwards. So that you're going to see it with the biggest fans because it's like the 7:30 Thursday night screening, and then people are really enthusiastic to hang out and talk about it afterwards. So that's something that I think is fantastic, and it's something that you built from the ground up. So that's a really cool thing.
Well, and that might have a little to do with why I like Shin Godzilla a little more too, because we did do a club screening for Shin Godzilla, and so talking about that film after it was over with hardcore Godzilla enthusiasts, that paints a little bit too.
Yeah, I feel, man, and okay, so the whole conversation about theaters, we're going to come back around to it here shortly. I'm going to go ahead and move along from our not really Gundam conversation because I got thinking about Godzilla, but it's fine, because we're going to...
Japanese stuff that starts with a G, you're fine.
Thank you. I appreciate the support, man. Yeah, that's what I love having you around for. So we're going to move into movie entertainment news, and I'm going to be honest with you, I had a couple of stories that I was like, these are like things we can talk about, and now I'm like, these other things are like they're anti-news compared to the main story. But that said, man, Tristan, are you stoked about the Van Helsing reboot or what?
I mean, I guess I've most of my familiarity with anything Van Helsing is bits of the anime, and
Okay.
I refuse to ever watch the Jack Nicholson movie again. But I mean, hey, it's the guy who made Overlord, which is pretty good.
Yo,
and,
if you put
James
Jack,
Wan, who
if you put Jack Nicholson into that movie, it would probably be the single greatest movie of all time. However, Hugh Jackman is the person who played Van Helsing, and I know it was just a slip. I know you didn't mean to say
what did I
it.
say?
You said Jack Nicholson.
Oh, did I say? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Man, yeah, no,
that would have been rad, though.
There's a similar. There's Jack Nicholson's Wolf or whatever.
Yeah. I haven't seen Van Helsing either, Tristan, which is funny because I feel like the reputation around it was so bad, and the footage that I saw of the werewolf, the harpies, Dracula himself, I was like, this looks stupid. So I never saw it. Maybe I'm being unfair to it. Julio, are we being unfair to it?
I can't tell you because I haven't seen it either,
Wow.
but I would like to point out that people focus too much on that movie and not on the character of Van Helsing, which is a character that goes all the way back to the original Dracula novel.
No. Van Helsing was created for that movie.
Yeah, no, this is a character that has existed in literature and pop culture for, well more than 100 years, and has been, played by everybody from Peter Cushing to
Anthony Hopkins to
Anthony Hopkins and
Bram Stoker Dracula.
And and even if you are like a fan of What We Do in the Shadows, the Guillermo character is a descendant of Van Helsing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So this is a character that means more than one little Hugh Jackman movie.
Yeah,
So
I
Just that movie
appreciate
was
that.
so bad it ruined it for everyone else.
yeah. Well, there was a live action TV series that ran very recently that I know a lot of people said was great. I didn't see it myself, but
Wasn't it called Ma'am Helsing? Was that the whole thing? It was like a chick Van Helsing. Wasn't that it?
no, I think it was just called Van Helsing.
Oh, okay.
But-
I like my title. It's fine.
But Van Helsing would be interesting too. I see that like a cross between Manimal and Van Helsing.
Yes, I am a very big Dracula fan. Obviously, like you were saying, it's probably the most adapted fictional character from literature of all time. I think maybe Sherlock Holmes and Dracula are like neck and neck. You know what I mean? They're in the hundreds of films for each of them. So you're right, Julio. The legacy of that character is so much deeper than simply this Hugh Jackman film. I don't know if that comes from some alt source material. Like Tristan, you mentioned the anime. Did you watch that?
A bits of it. My brother was like super into it, so it was mostly just he'd have it on and I'd be in the room or something like that. That is most of my Van Helsing fiction consumption.
Okay, and you saw it, you kind of dug it, but it wasn't enough for you to get into it.
It's like all blood.
Okay, because I really like Castlevania on Netflix. I think that show's
Castlevania's
badass.
great, and the first episode of that is essentially what most of Helsing was like.
Oh, okay, I see.
I remember that first episode of Castlevania is just people getting torn to bits for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is that Van Helsing is not usually the title character and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's easy to forget. There's the movie, there's the live action TV series, and the anime. And other than that, I don't think it's a whole lot of things that are called Van Helsing.
Can you take Van Helsing and put him up against Dracula and make a film that makes a dent culturally, or do we need Van Helsing versus the classic monster lineup?
I mean, I think eventually you're going to see him fight, all the classic monsters and not just Dracula, even though Dracula is where he originated. And that's fine. I kind of think that's what they were going to try to build up to with the whole Dark Universe thing that failed because they just didn't do it right, because they decided to make a Tom Cruise action movie and pretend that it was a monster movie.
I think you just don't go big with the first one. I think the first one you keep it small and secluded, and then if that is good and does well, then you bring in the more popular monsters and you make it like a much heavier, heavier on the horror, heavier on the action. Just bring it all in for the next one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
That's where I feel like Universal is going now, because you put this particular Van Helsing thing aside. The Invisible Man movie that came out this year actually came out in theaters, but that was still this year.
It's the last movie I saw in theaters, I think.
Me too.
That was successful. People liked it, and they are going to make an Invisible Woman sequel.
Well, I think that's like with like
that's going to end up tying in
Elizabeth
with
Banks.
The Ryan Gosling Wolfman movie that's in the works, and you've
Wow.
got a couple other things that are, they're trying again, basically, is what it boils down to. And I think they're starting slow, they're starting small, and they're going to build to it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what you guys said. And Tristan, I agree with you saying keeping it self-contained, keeping it isolated. I just don't know that, and this is coming from one of the bigger, movie monster fans you guys will probably meet, but I just feel like they've been retread so many times that it's going to be very difficult to find a way to pivot and keep it interesting. That said, Invisible Man is the primo example of how to do that shit and make it socially relevant and also a really good horror movie. Like it was able to hit that mark, and I just don't know how.
I think you make it you make it, when I say self-contained and small, I almost mean it literally, because at first I thought of Hateful Eight, but then you even go to Night of the Living Dead. Like, make it take place in like a pub or like a tavern in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of patrons who can all be fodder to die, and just have like monsters and demons just attacking this place for 2 hours and Helsing having to defend it.
Okay, like
That's a cool idea.
yeah, it is a cool idea. Almost like Dog Soldiers, or like what was that one called? I think it was called Feast. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon had this show called Project Greenlight. In the first season, there was that one, and it was in a bar. I guess From Dusk Till Dawn is another kind of good comparison, but I really like that idea, like a siege movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, the end of Shaun of the Dead is certainly that too.
It's a
you know?
very good call. Yep. Yeah. Well, I hope for the best. I would love to hear your thoughts in the I always say in the super chat. I'm like, come on, maybe in the super chat. In the chat, let me know what your thoughts are, guys, on this Van Helsing reboot. As you said, Tristan, I think that having James Wan attached to it is only a good thing. I think he's still got a fairly untarnished reputation. However, he has produced on some less than stellar stuff, but I feel like he's still got a.
It is like the director of Overlord.
Yeah. Overlord was actually really dope. Has that guy done anything else?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Was that the Nazi zombie movie?
Yes, it
Nazi
was.
zombies.
Okay.
Not the Nazi zombies from what is that European almost comedy movie, Dead Snow? Not that Nazi zombies.
No, it's because I actually saw Overlord. I haven't seen Dead Snow.
And then there's
I've
one
only
called
seen the second Dead Snow, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And then there's Frankenstein's Army, which is like a little, very small budget kind of Nazi experimenting on super soldier type things. That was also cool. So
apparently he's directed like a bunch of shorts and then 2 full feature films, Overlord, and then 2014 some movie with what it looks like Ewan McGregor called Son of a Gun.
Huh. I remember hearing the title of that, but I guess none of the three of us have seen it.
Oh, Alicia Vikander.
How did I miss that? That's
I'm now
crazy.
interested in seeing it.
Yeah. You've piqued my interest. All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on from the Van Helsing reboot to the Scream 5 story, which I kind of like to hear these stories. So what happened is there have been multiple versions of the script passed out to the cast. Each of them contains different endings, implying that in order to keep the identity a secret from people like us, they are keeping it close to the vest. And I can think of examples of times this was done. Game of Thrones was notorious for doing this at the end when it came down to the way that season 8 was going to end poorly. I start to wonder if the reason why they gave everybody different versions of the script is because they actually didn't know which one they were going to use yet. But with this kind of situation, first of all, before we even get to whether or not this story is interesting, are you looking forward to seeing a Scream 5? Have you been on board with the franchise, or do you think it kind of needs to go away, Julio?
I haven't seen every single one of them, but I don't think it's an issue to go back to the well on this one. Although I guess are they calling it Scream 5 now, or are they just calling it Scream? Because I heard they were just calling it Scream.
I heard that too.
It's just Scream.
Yeah. The characters are fine. The ones that we're all familiar with that have been in all of the movies, with Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox, and and I do wonder if it's going to be weird for Courtney Cox and her ex-husband to be working together.
Oh,
again.
yeah.
No, they hang out frequently. I don't know if you've seen the David Arquette got back into the world of wrestling, and he made a great documentary. I seriously recommend this documentary called, I think it's just called You Can't Kill David Arquette. And she's in it quite a bit.
Oh,
that's kind of cool to hear.
That's not an issue. I could tell you that just looking over the cast, though, I already have a good idea of who I think will be the killer.
Fuck it. Spoil it, dude. Let's go. Go.
Well, I mean, it's not a spoiler. It's just a gut feeling. But Kyle Gallner is in it, who's a great actor, but he's always the guy that you don't suspect is the bad guy, and then turns out to be the bad guy. And I base that primarily on Veronica Mars, where he was like the unsuspecting younger brother of Dick Casablancas, and it turned out he was the guy that had raped Veronica and was responsible for the murder that she investigated throughout the entire first season. You don't find this out until the second season. Some Veronica Mars spoilers I'm throwing at you there, but Kyle Gallner does that a lot because he's like he's kind of baby faced.
Yeah.
And,
he's the Flash in Smallville.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So That's where my gut feeling is. He's going to be the guy that, kind of like Matthew Lillard was,
Yeah.
or Jamie Kennedy for that matter, where, he's just the fun guy that's hanging around. And he wouldn't hurt anybody.
That's interesting. I am not going to bet against you on that, Julio. I can actually see your rationale there. I haven't seen the rest of the cast. Tristan, are you a Scream fan? Not the first movie, but the franchise.
No, I respect the first movie. I think it's good. I'll say it's great, probably, but I couldn't give a damn about any sequels whatsoever. Nope.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Okay. I respect it.
I'll maybe see this one, but
it's kind of funny that like slasher movies, Scream single-handedly murdered that genre. I mean, they were on their way out as it was, but after that, you couldn't go back to like an earnest slasher movie that didn't have that meta self-awareness or some sort of extra layer of just something to make it.
Well, like I think I'm not even a horror fan, and I think that over the past few years, as someone who's not a horror fan, we've had a lot of great original horror films. Like, Invisible Man isn't original, but parts of it kind of are. But I don't think we need to go back to a pretty much dead franchise.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I am a
I mean, is it dead though? I mean, because we've had a Scream TV.
That's a TV show, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's run like 3 seasons, so it's been around.
Yeah.
It's not. And I won't say I watched it because I didn't.
Yeah, same.
It's not a franchise that has ever really gone away. In a great sense. I mean, it's gone away in the sense that it's been
out of public consciousness.
Campbell and Courtney Cox and David Arquette, but it hasn't gone away as something that is prevalent in pop culture.
Yeah, no, I hear where both of you are coming from, because I'm so disconnected from what like the kids are into as far as who was watching Scream on MTV. I really don't know if it was a hit. I know I hated the redesign of the mask. I'm a person who, like, Scream is one of my favorite horror films. I just feel like it's such a clever deconstruction of that genre, and at this point, like, it's all old hat, but it was actually kind of subversive and clever at the time that it came out, and it was able to balance being a comedy and a horror without ever compromising. Like, the humor never seemed forced or fake. It was all very organic to the characters, and I really liked everything about the original Scream. I also think Scream 2 is very creative. Go ahead.
The first one has one of my favorite meta, but not super meta moments, and it almost is super meta. It's almost kind of dumb. But the moment where Jamie Kennedy is sitting on the couch,
beautiful,
and the killer is behind him, and he's watching Halloween, and he's telling who is it in Scream? I can't think of her last name.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, he's telling Jamie Lee Curtis, Jamie, look behind you. Jamie, look behind you. And Jamie Kennedy's got the killer behind him. It's one of the. It's a great moment.
I agree. That's the kind of stuff. That's the gift that keeps giving for the Scream. I really like the second one. I really like Scream 2. I think it was a clever commentary on sequels. It addresses a lot of it.
Is that the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar?
It is. And it's the one where Billy's mother and then the movie buff Timothy Oliphant's character end up being the... Oh, spoilers, by the way, guys. Hope you don't care, because you don't. Let's just be honest. Oh, what's up, Ian? Ian from The Controversy in the chat. You guys go over there and check out his podcast from yesterday when you get finished over here. I did a little guest spot over there, and we had fun with a game of One's Gotta Go. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty fun. We had some good conversations. One of my questions was baby dolphin or baby seal. So I enjoyed putting them on the spot like that. I'm like, look, you got a baby dolphin looking up at you with its like puppy dog eyes, and then right next to it like a baby seal, like newborns, the most adorable little versions of them. And they're looking up at you, and you can keep one, and the other has literally got to go. And lots of strange things came to light, especially about dolphins and their sexual proclivities.
Yeah, I was going to say dolphins at butthole. Screw that.
So are you going baby seal on the record?
Yeah, dolphins suck. I mean, sure, they're cool and they're smart, but they're assholes.
Julio, One's got to go.
I like dolphins, but if you're talking about baby, I don't see a whole lot of difference between a baby dolphin and an adult dolphin in terms of looks and cuteness and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you're like a baby, I got to go baby seal.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point. Yeah, I actually think that's very valid. I don't think I've ever seen like a dolphin pup before, but if it looks just like a dolphin, then it's not like as cute, because baby seals are cute as fuck. Like, baby seals are the most adorable things anyways. But yeah, for more of that, check out The Controversy. It was a good time. So I liked Scream 2. Scream 3, I'd fallen off at that point. And then Scream 4 was all right, but it already felt just a little passé. I never saw the series, so
Did that one go PG-13?
I don't think
I
so.
think it did.
3 or 4 was PG-13, and that's always like the death nail for like bloody hardcore franchises. As soon as they make a PG-13 when it's done.
That's a bad choice, dude. That's a bad choice.
Like I always make an argument for Expendables 1 and 2, and then Expendables 3 did PG-13, and I'm like, nope, it's crap.
I'm trying to find this real quick because
When they took Die Hard to PG-13 and he couldn't say yippee-ki-yay motherfucker anymore.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was like yippee-ki-yay mother, and then it would like cut away or something.
Yeah.
Dude, there's no PG-13 Scream movies.
But also that argument sort of falls apart with Die Hard, because Die Hard 4 is better than Die Hard 2.
Hot take. What do you think, Julio?
I can't remember which one was which. I remember. Okay, so 3 is the one with Sam Jackson. So I guess
2 is the one in the airport.
2 is the one in the airport. Yeah, I mean, none of them are as good as the first one. Let's just be honest.
No.
But what's the one?
Justin Long is in the 4th.
Kevin Smith cameo.
4.
Okay. Yeah, then I might agree with you. 4 might be better than 2.
That's the one where Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis started their beautiful friendship.
Their beautiful, short-lived friendship.
Yeah, dude. Apparently Bruce Willis is just the worst to Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith seems like a sweet boy, but I could also understand Bruce Willis just being like, what the fuck's up with this dude?
Well, it's because Cop Out bombed.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, like, even when they were making, even on Die Hard, I think Kevin Smith, like, tried to ad-lib, and Bruce Willis wasn't having it.
Oh, really? He was like, you stick to the script.
Yeah, I think even Justin Long tried to ad-lib, and Bruce Willis didn't like it.
Oh, Hacks in the chat. What's up, Hacks? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Always a pleasure. I'm so happy you came over here from that shit podcast that I used to do with Caleb called People Are Terrible. Still available on YouTube. I'm thinking about probably pooling that archive because Jesus Christ, man, when you talk for 2.5 hours straight, you are just liable to say some things that do not need to exist on the internet forever. So, yeah, it's bleak. Anyways, we'll go ahead and move on to the main topic for this evening. Well, excuse me, the main movie news headline, and then we're gonna go and discuss just for a little bit about spoiler etiquette, because I feel like right now in particular is a good time to have this conversation. So, first of all, HBO Max. It's the new streaming service on the block, and it's already my favorite one. I feel like as far as amount of programming to amount of good programming, they've got a very good ratio, and I have been watching it daily for the past couple of weeks. So pretty much everything I'm watching right now is on HBO Max. Obviously, we heard that they were getting the exclusive rights to Snyder Cut's Justice League. We found out Wonder Woman 84. This was something that the decision was made to put it on HBO Max not too long ago. That was actually one of my headlines here. And then now, though, as of just a couple of hours ago, news broke that Warner Brothers they're just making a move, and they say as of right now that it is a 1-year limited plan or like a temporary plan. However, we know that they're just testing the water to see how things end up playing out, and if they end up being more successful than they would do otherwise, they're going to continue to do this. So what's going on is they are doing day and date releases simultaneously on HBO Max and on the big screen at the movie theaters. You don't have to pay anything extra on top of your HBO Max subscription to watch these movies. Or you can risk getting coronavirus, and you can go to your local theater and pay $15 a ticket to see it. Tristan, you and I don't know each other super well. Julio, as we talked about a little bit ago, you're a big movie theater guy. I'm a big movie theater guy. So being that I kind of know where you and I stand on it, Tristan, what do you think about the choice, and what do you think about people realistically making the choice to go see it at the theaters?
I like this for me, and I mean, I like it from, I don't think people should be going to the movies. I thought it was stupid that Tenet tried, and they're like, the commercial was always like, big movies are back. Like, shut up, go away.
Yeah, just you.
But yeah, it's good for someone like me, of course, anybody, I guess, who wants to see these movies. I'm terrified for what it could do to theaters. I'm terrified for if these movies are successful in some way. And I mean, I guess it's more of if like HBO Max gets more new subscribers. I don't know how they make money from people who are already subscribers and watching these movies. But if this in any way makes studios think they don't need the theaters, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's so weird to think about, because I'm kind of, at this point, I'm more on the side of, I'm excited as a consumer to be able to see these films instead of them just getting pushed off. However, I've also been a big advocate. I did go see Tenet at the theaters here. They did the 40% occupancy. They had the masks. They were doing deep sanitizing, and it felt relatively safe. I didn't feel incredibly uncomfortable about it, and I think that speaks volumes for the protocols that were put in place at our local AMCs. They were trying. I can definitely say that, and I haven't been back since, so I obviously, you feel like you're kind of rolling the dice. And for a movie like Godzilla King of the Monsters to say, hey, or excuse me, Godzilla versus Kong to say, hey, you can either see this in 2 months or 2 years, I'm impatient, dude. I'm going to take the 2 months.
But if we'd have just done the full 100% lockdown like almost every other country did, if we'd have just gone for it,
preach,
and gotten it over with,
say it,
I could have seen a movie by now.
Yeah, man. And it's actually fucking the economy even worse as a result of everything having to open and close. And it's a disaster. It's a disaster. Julio, man, what do you think about the decision to put these huge titles real quick before? And Julio, I saw you actually posted this list. I copied and pasted it from your Facebook page.
Okay.
The Suicide Squad, Matrix 4, Dune, Godzilla vs. Kong, Space Jam, Little Things, Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm saying names that I don't even recognize. Tom and Jerry, Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, In the Heights, Reminiscence, Malignant. That sounds good. The Many Saints of Newark, King Richard, and Cry Macho. So some rando stuff that I'm not even familiar with, and then some huge titles in there. I mean, does this shake you to your core?
All of these are relatively big, and I think just some of the titles, because they were further out on the schedule, they just haven't made the round yet. But like Cry Macho is Clint Eastwood doing a Western again.
Ooh, cool. Directing it or starring in it?
That's kind of a big deal,
Yes.
Reminiscence is a big science fiction film that just, it's not some licensed character. It's an original science fiction property. So, and I think actually starring our friend Hugh Jackman, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow.
You mean Jack Nicholson?
So all comes back around to Van Helsing.
Love it.
But, I mean, I want to see these movies. I'm tired of waiting. And if it means watching them at home, that's fine. I have HBO Max. It's included with my phone, so I'm not paying anything extra for it anyway.
Yep.
So in that regard, it's great. I'm a big supporter of theaters, and I want to be able to go back to theaters, but I get that people aren't there yet. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the reaction from the theater chains is on this, because apparently Warner didn't, unlike with the Wonder Woman release, they didn't go to the theaters first. They just said, nope, we're doing this.
Oh, wow.
But there's talk behind the scenes that they may be negotiating some kind of thing where the theaters don't have to pay as much for the films as they normally would. They get a greater share of the tickets. And so there's been some talk that, if you're going to go to the theater to see these, it may not be a $15 ticket. It may be something where they do a $4 or $5 ticket because they're keeping all the money or most of the money.
Yeah.
So that may balance things out a little bit. It should be mentioned too that HBO Max is only in the US right now. I think US and Canada.
So doing the day and date.
Internationally, these films are still going to just go into theaters.
I see.
So that makes a difference too, because that international dollar is a big chunk of change too. I was surprised that they went ahead and decided to do the whole year. That's the thing that really blew me away about it. I figured that they were going to do it with more films, and I figured we would see. I figured they were going to wait and see how Wonder Woman did with this scheme. But yes. I guess the buzz on them doing Wonder Woman this way was strong enough that they felt like they could go ahead and pull the trigger. I'm going to be interested to see if they change some of the release dates, because a lot of stuff like Dune was supposed to be out this month. And they moved it back to October when they moved Wonder Woman back. So I don't think they'll keep Dune in December, but will they maybe release it in March instead of waiting until October? We may see some.
As long as I can see Mortal Kombat in January, I don't care.
Yes.
Well, that's another one I was going to mention. Mortal Kombat was supposed to come out in January. There had been talk that it was going to get moved back, but they never officially moved it back. So I'm assuming we're still going to get Mortal Kombat in January.
I better get Mortal Kombat in January.
I'm with you, Tristan. There are a couple that I'm very excited to see. And I think we'll just go around and mention the one or the two that we're most enthusiastic for. Actually, there's a couple for me. But it's interesting to think, how do you quantify a success? Like, I know that they're going to be looking at specific analytics, mostly revolving around how many new subscribers they get per film release. However, let's just say they release Suicide Squad one week, Kong the next week, In the Heights the next week. If I know that there are 10 movies coming out on HBO Max within the next year, and I go ahead and get the subscription now, does that mean that I got the subscription for the next movie on the schedule, or does it mean that I got it because of the fifth movie down the line? And so that's what I'm kind of curious, is how do you decide what's a success from what's a failure? And
I think it's who do you have sticking around? Because if you draw people in with Wonder Woman, and then while they're looking for Wonder Woman, they are like, oh, what's all this Turner Classic Movie stuff? What Friends is on here? Oh, what is a bunch of Studio Ghibli? Oh, whoa, this seems pretty cool. I think when you get people searching for the movie they came for and they see the actual huge, vast array of great stuff that is on HBO Max, I preach HBO Max all the time for the stuff that's on there.
Yes.
That's probably, you get people coming for the one thing, and then they see the whole world that you have, and that excites them, hopefully.
And that's the thing, because within the industry, the HBO Max launch was considered to have been hugely botched. They don't have the subscriber base that they were looking for, not even close.
When they also didn't come out on Fire Sticks and Roku.
Yeah, and they're on Fire now. They've just gotten onto Fire. They're still negotiating with Roku. So that's all. It has been considered to have been very much a botched launch, despite the quality of the programming and the quality of the service itself is fantastic. They don't have a ton of subscribers.
You're right. You're right. I was actually very critical of HBO Max's kind of launch because of all of the things that you guys just now said, and just because their programming was stretched thin and then reconsolidated. It was hard to know what was going where there for a moment. But as you said, Julio, it's the quality is there, and for AT&T subscribers, I don't pay anything for HBO Max. So essentially, I'm about to get 15 of the most anticipated movies of 2020 or 2021 on my 65-inch TV for absolutely free, and that's a pretty awesome thing. So I can't complain about that aspect of it. Of course, I'm concerned about the future of film. However, as of right now, we have the choice. So the choice is yours whether or not you go out to the movie theater. One thing that I think might be good news about this is that I know that people like us are excited and enthusiastic about Dune. I don't know how broad the appeal of a movie like that is. I know Blade Runner 2049 ate shit relative to how much the budget was on it. And despite the fact that it was by far my favorite movie of that year and many years before and after that, like I love Blade Runner 2049, but I was concerned that if Villeneuve actually had another failure, that maybe he would be sidelined a little bit. And this gives me confidence that, like, if the critical reception for it is good, then he's still got a future making these big science fiction epics that cost ungodly amounts of money and that people may or may not even watch, you know?
Do you think they're going to market these? Like,
Yes.
we know about this stuff because we pay attention to it, but like,
No,
are they every
they-
month when a movie comes out, are they just going to throw commercials on TV for it?
That's a good
Yes.
question. You think?
Yeah, they absolutely will. That's because that's their whole marketing plan for HBO Max now. Not only will you see it in every HBO Max commercial, you will see individual commercials for these individual films. You'll see it in every HBO Max commercial. You'll see it in every AT&T cell phone commercial.
So they're still going to spend the money on marketing trailers in the same traditional sense that we get them nowadays. You believe we'll see those for each of these movies?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But I mean, either way, like the marketing budget for a Wonder Woman or a Godzilla and the marketing budget for HBO Max, it's all coming from Warner Bros. It's all coming from AT&T.
Yes. Yeah. Man, this is just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I think they'll be able to do it more effectively and more affordably this way too. So, we'll see. But man, I'm excited about it. I will probably now see some of these movies even that I probably wouldn't have seen. And I think that's going to be true of a lot of people too.
Fire 3 of your most anticipated at me, Julio.
For me, the Suicide Squad is probably my number one. First of all, because I'm a huge fan of the comics. I liked the David Ayer film, even though it has a lot of problems.
Yeah, you can say that. Mm-hmm.
But the things that I liked about it are the things that they seem to be keeping. Viola Davis was an amazing Amanda Waller, and I'm so glad that she's back.
Yes.
And James Gunn has gone out of his way to kind of praise Ayer for the casting because he left him with some really solid actors that are coming back. So there's that part of it. Then there's the James Gunn of it all.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm a massive fan of basically anything that man wants to do. So for him to be taking on this property of these characters, there's nothing I want to see more.
I love it.
I want to see this more than I want to see Guardians 3.
Oh, whoa. At least you know what you're getting. I don't want to say at least. You know what you're getting with Guardians 3. We have no idea what we're getting out of the Suicide Squad. So I agree with you on that.
That's what I'm excited about.
Yes. Any other one that really is speaking to you?
In the Heights. I know it's not something that we would necessarily talk about in the nerd world a lot, but I'm a big musical guy, and I'm especially a huge fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I have been looking forward to that film for some time, and another one that's been pushed back a couple of times. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing that.
I just now remembered seeing the trailers, and it looks fantastic. Once you started saying that Lin-Manuel Miranda was in it and that it was a musical, it started playing in my head. And yeah, dude, that's also a great choice. I think that'll be a good one.
I'm a little miffed about Godzilla versus Kong because I feel like that needs that big screen scale.
Yeah.
So we'll see where we are by the time that comes out. We may feel safe enough to go to theaters by then, and then we'll see. Maybe I'll go out in spring and see it in the theater. But
that's a good point.
Like I said, I'll probably watch all of these.
Yes,
I can.
No doubt. Yeah, I'm with you, and I hate that Godzilla versus Kong feels like that kind of film that you do really need that IMAX spectacle because let's be honest, a movie like Godzilla versus Kong ain't going to be bringing home any Academy Awards unless it's in the visual effects or sound design or something like that. So I understand what kind of movie we're going to be getting out of this, especially after King of the Monsters. And I'm all right with that because I know where I know the vibe that they're going for now. And
I thought Kongpocalypse Now was a better film than Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I agree. So okay,
what it's called, but that's just because they put out those posters where it looked like Apocalypse.
Oh, for sure. I think that's smart.
But that was a fun flick, and King of the Monsters wasn't bad. So, yeah, and definitely the problem with King of the Monsters was definitely not in the visuals. The visuals are fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Tristan, you mentioned Mortal Kombat. And I know that for me personally, the original Mortal Kombat is a movie that I have a very close connection with. I went and saw it like multiple times in the movie theater. I cosplayed as Sub-Zero, and this was before I knew what cosplaying was. We choreographed this very elaborate fight sequence so that we could perform it in the front of the theater in Fort Walton when I was young, and we were just so dorky about it. And listening to the soundtrack of it is something that even now, like, I'll get so hyped listening to like Control, the Reptile versus Liu Kang fight song is super dope. So I like the choreography very much in the first film. I'm excited to see what direction they take it this time around. James Wan is attached to this. Tristan, talk to me a little. I know you know so much more about this shit than I do, so tell me why I'm excited about this new Mortal Kombat.
So Mortal Kombat's cast, half of it at least. I'm disappointed with elements of the cast, and I've even got it pulled up here to remind me of the parts that I'm sad about. There's great stuff in the cast. If you've seen the Raid film, the first Raid, Joe Toslam, who is the Sergeant Jaka in the Raid who fights Mad Dog, gets his neck snapped. He is Sub-Zero. He's also great in the Cinemax show Warrior. He's Sub-Zero. Super looking forward to that. Ludi Lin, who I wasn't originally, like, that wasn't my fan casting, but he is going to be Liu Kang, which that is a great choice. He was the Black Ranger in the Power Rangers movie.
Okay.
You've got Hiroyuki Sanada, Max Huang. If you want some great stuff to watch, look up Max Huang on YouTube. He's got some short films that are great on there. He's going to be Kung Lao, so that's a fantastic casting.
Cool.
Louis Tan is in it, and we don't know who he's playing because they haven't announced it somehow. I'm confident that he is Johnny Cage, which will probably piss some people off because he's not completely white. But I wanted him as Liu Kang, and he didn't get that. But I'm pretty sure he's Johnny Cage, which I'm just as cool with, as long as he's one of the main three. Louis Tan, who was the drunken fighter in the first season of Iron Fist. He's in Into the Badlands, Wu Assassins on Netflix. Louis Tan, I think, is going to be and should be a humongous star. Louis Tan is fantastic.
Okay. Is he a good actor as well, or is he just
I think he's genuinely a good actor,
Okay,
and he should have been Iron Fist. And I think the only reason he wasn't Iron Fist is because he's not a blonde white dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got Tadanobu Asano, who's in a whole bunch of Japanese films. He's great. Hiroyuki Sanada, which is just a film legend, is Scorpion. And then you've just got a bunch of other random people who I wouldn't have put in the movie. The one thing that's scaring me about Mortal Kombat is the director, Simon McQuoid. It's his first movie. He's directed a PlayStation commercial, which people love. Whatever. Give the dude a smaller movie and then give him something big. And I know Mortal Kombat doesn't have the biggest cast, but the biggest budget. But there's so many other action and martial arts directors out there that could have done a better job. Granted, we haven't seen the movie yet. I know could do a great job.
Yeah.
You've got Isaac Florentine, Gareth Evans, Jesse V. Johnson.
Gareth Evans would have been, for a layman like myself, I would have been like, get Gareth Evans to do Mortal Kombat. He'd be the guy.
Well,
Gareth Evans.
A lot of people really loved the web series, and
I've got those on Blu-ray. They're great. That
was Jed Whedon and Marissa Chancharoen, right?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Clearly showed that they understood the source material. But if you haven't seen like the Undisputed films or Ninja 2: Shadow of a Tear, that's Isaac Florentine. He knows what he's doing with action. He actually used to be, like, back in the 90s. He was like a stunt coordinator for like Power Rangers. And then like Jesse V. Johnson, check out the movie Avengement or Accident Man. I think Avengement is on Netflix. You've also got like Triple Threat. Those are his movies. That dude is fantastic with action. There's just so many directors making smaller budget films that clearly show with these movies that they know what they're doing. And instead there's like a first time director on the movie.
Well, to every one of those filmmakers that you just now named, they had a first movie. So let's put the fucking guy over. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, and that's one thing I always try to remind myself of, like, well, everyone's got a first. Maybe it's good, but when when you look on the shelf and you see the bright shiny toys, and instead you want to go buy a new one, pick something from your shelf.
Yeah, I get it. I understand your apprehension, Julio. What are you expecting, or what would you like out of a new Mortal Kombat movie?
I do want to see this movie, but you know what I want to see even more than this movie? I want to see video of Jeremy as Sub-Zero doing his return.
Yeah, let me see if I can dig that out. I
think that would be amazing. Seriously, I liked the first movie. I never saw Annihilation. From what I hear, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But I want to see big action, but I want to see it taken maybe a little bit more seriously, a little less campy than
they've said. Like they're going full R. They're just going for it. Which,
so
and like with the majority,
9 yards.
Yeah,
with the majority of that cast, it's all up to the director on what he does, because that cast, especially like guys like Louis Tan, Max Huang, Joe Toslam, they're going to give you 110% with the choreography. It's up to the director to know exactly what he needs to do to capture it, because there's been movies with a fantastic cast of fighters, and then the director is just lazy, and shoots it like it's a Bourne movie. When those guys, you don't shoot like it's a Bourne movie.
So you want wides? You want wide,
full Hong Kong style wides?
Yeah,
yes,
all right.
I'd be all for that. That'd be awesome.
I'm okay with a little bit of all of it.
And then I wouldn't hate it if they brought back the theme song from the first movie.
I was gonna ask, Julio, do you have to do techno music for it to be a true Mortal Kombat movie, or do you not want that stuff?
I don't know. We'll see. It depends on what the tone of the film is, but I wouldn't hate if they at least put that in the credits or something.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like at the end or whatever, I feel like they need to lean into the actual Mortal Kombat mythos. I would like to see a straight up martial arts tournament. I feel like the first Mortal Kombat movie, I mean, look guys, I understand it's not a great movie. Don't fucking at me about it. I know you don't have to tell me that it's
say that Mortal Kombat is like baseline good. Like there's like a chart of like bad and great. I think somewhere on that line of good exists Mortal Kombat.
Okay, I appreciate the generosity, because I don't know, man. I went back and revisited it, and there are some very strong sequences in it. It's a movie with some good
parts. The
best
parts of that movie are like the big wide shots, and it's you get guys like I can't think of their names right now, but the guys you have in the ninja suits are fantastic, and Robin Chu was great as Liu Kang.
Are they bringing back Shang Tsung? What's his name?
Kerry
Fukunaga.
Yeah.
I heard they were, but I guess not.
He came back for Mortal Kombat 11, the game. Like they used his voice and his likeness.
That's right.
But no, he's not back in the movie now.
I would the R rating definitely gives me confidence. I would like to just see some classic pairings fighting each other. Like I didn't like Scorpion and Sub-Zero being allies. I actually watched.
Yeah, that's one thing I think they really seriously need to do is dive into every single, maybe not in this movie, but make sure everybody has a character. Don't make guys like Scorpion and Sub-Zero just faceless henchmen.
Yeah,
like, they have names, they have characters, they have motivations.
Dude, did y'all see the animated Scorpion movie that came out like this year or last year?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it is so good. It's the perfect Mortal Kombat adaptation as far as I'm concerned so far. Julio, if you like anime or like the Castlevania on Netflix, it's very similar to that style. Is that something like that you would put on if you had it in front of you, or is that like not high enough on your priorities?
I would, and I've heard good things about that film in particular. So yeah, I would like to see it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's cool, man. I was very enthusiastic about it. So yeah, I have high hopes, but at the same time, I'm going to set the bar relatively low for all of this stuff, because you don't have to do a whole lot to be the best Kong versus Godzilla movie. You don't have to do a whole lot to be the best Mortal Kombat movie. You just got to give me something to work with. So we'll see how it goes.
If you haven't seen it, Jeremy, you seriously need to check out. Find it somewhere. Mortal Kombat Legacy. It is great. Majority of the cast is fantastic, except for some reason in the second season they replaced Matt Mullins as Johnny Cage with Casper Van Dien.
What?
From
Starship Troopers, yeah.
But other than that, like the entire cast is stacked and just fantastic. And
All
like,
right.
it's made by people who just 100% got the source material. They did a crazy choice with the second season where it takes place well into the existence of the tournaments, and Liu Kang has done multiple tournaments and is now like a villain.
Oh wow, bold
And
choice.
It's pretty great.
So is that the one that Whedon did? Because there was another Mortal Kombat series that came out where like Baraka like was a human who like had put knives in their arms and shit. They were like interrogating him.
There's a short called Mortal Kombat Legacy with Michael Jai White, Matt Mullins, and Lateef Crowder as Baraka.
Okay.
Where he was like a surgeon who like went mad
Yes.
and put knives in his arms.
That's the one.
And then that was just a short that later became the first season of Legacy.
Okay.
Which Michael Jai White stuck on as Jax. And then that season like is mostly just every episode is about different characters, and then the second season is the tournament. And unfortunately, it ends like with a cliffhanger, and they never made a season 3.
Oh, I'm going to be watching that soon. And then I'm going to tell you all how it ends tomorrow, because on this part of the podcast, we're switching into this week's topic. The reason specifically is Mandalorian, but there's a lot of discussion about etiquette when it comes to spoiling things, television series, movies. And I'm pretty much just, as you guys probably can tell, I'm pretty much like a fuck it, let it ride kind of thing. Like if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame at this point and you come to my channel and I'm talking about the end of Endgame, it's kind of on you. You should be watching Endgame instead of watching my stupid fucking channel. If you're a fan and care about spoilers, right? So I'm pretty lax about it. But before I give my big 2 cents, Julio, I think this is probably one that you hold. I think all of us probably hold near and dear and have our own standards as to what is acceptable. What would you say is like the grace period, and how do you go about it?
I mean, don't be a dick.
All right, you're asking a lot.
It's like, not everybody is going to get to watch the show the day it airs. Not everybody's going to get to the movie the week it opens. There are ways that you could have that discussion online without it being in people's face, where you could say something, in a main post, hey, we're going to have Mandalorian spoiler conversation in the comments, and you give some space and you give some warning. So it's just not hitting somebody that's just picked up their phone to, check Facebook or whatever. It's kind of more a feeling than anything else than a specific amount of time. I know a lot of people feel like a week for TV and like a month for movies or whatever. I don't necessarily go by that, but I mean, if you're going to talk about, can we say that Darth Vader is Luke's father, or can we say that, Rosebud's the sled? Yeah, I think the statute of limitations is expired on those.
Yeah.
It's just, try to be courteous, try to be respectful, and don't be an asshole.
Ian Elliott Carter with the $2 super chat. Here's a tip for no reason. Shake it, Kung Fu Man. I think that's for you, Tristan. He said, shake it, Kung Fu Man. Yeah, Julio, I 100% understand where you're coming from, and I agree with you. Like, you don't, like, when I went and saw The Force Awakens, as we were walking into the movie theater, some fucking squids drove by as they were leaving and said, Han Solo dies at the end. And Victoria's like, what did he just say? And I'm like, just nothing. He didn't say anything. So I knew going into it, okay, Han Solo dies. And that sucks. That is what you just now said about being a dick. Like, that's just rude. And to go on to Facebook and be like, oh my God, the end of Sixth Sense, it turns out he's dead the whole time or whatever. Like, that's kind of a dick move. However, in the circumstance of Sixth Sense, it's just been around so long, and eventually those twists kind of become a part of the zeitgeist. Like, everybody knows about Psycho, whether or not they've seen the film or not. So there's some things that are almost known, like you said with Darth Vader, for the twists themselves, whether or not they've even seen the thing. I feel like we start getting into a murkier area when it starts to come to outlets and things like that. But Tristan, on a personal level, how do you conduct yourself, and what do you think is kind of acceptable from peers and friends?
I think I'm on social media a lot. Don't just post spoilers. I'm in one group on Facebook where, like, the day a new episode of The Mandalorian's out and people have already watched it, the day of, they've made memes, and memes are just flooding the page, and you've just got to comment on and like one and be like, hey, let's calm this down. Let's wait at least until Monday. And then, you know, I with like, so like wrestling, like I was bitching earlier today about getting spoiled with some stuff that happened last night on 2 different wrestling shows. Like if it's something that, you know, people are going to watch over the next few days and it's in like a Facebook group, start like a discussion tab. Just be like, this is where talk about it here.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're talking about it. And, you know, don't just randomly post stuff on so you brought up Han Solo getting killed. The day I was going to see Force Awakens, was scrolling through Instagram, and there was a post that was not Star Wars related whatsoever. And in the comments, someone said, they didn't specify sort of, but they said, Han Solo's son kills him.
Oh, man.
In the comments of a random post that had nothing to do with Star Wars. So there's your don't be a dick.
Yes.
Sure.
But yeah, just like if you're on social media, set up something that pretty much just says spoilers ahead, and don't just post something like boom in your face, the spoiler.
See, okay.
Well, and I get it, because some of that comes from people being excited about what they saw and what they experienced, and wanting to share it with people, wanting to discuss it with people. And I appreciate that enthusiasm. I think that's important. But, you know, temper it a little bit. You know, for me, the case in point right now is last week the book Ready Player 2 came out.
Yes.
And I had pre-ordered. I was very excited about this book. I pre-ordered it, got it in from Amazon the day it was released. Sat down, and I've read the whole book already. I'm dying to talk about some things in this book with people, but I don't want to spoil it on anybody. So I'm waiting to, you know, for some other people to have pop up and say they've read it before I talk about anything about it.
Yeah, and also don't be obnoxious to somebody who spoiled something for you from 20 years ago. That is your fault. I one time was talking, it was when the remake of Red Dawn came out.
Okay. Didn't know that was a thing, but all right.
Well, so I said, like, I will like it if they have the balls to do what the first movie did. If at the end they killed the if they killed the 2 brothers by the end, I'll be happy. And someone said, hey, spoilers. And I was like, that movie came out in 1984.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yes. Right. So, and that's, there's the 2 sides of the spectrum, because you're right. There is always going to be the person that's like, spoilers. And it's like, dude, if you really cared, you would not be having this conversation with me right now. You would have already seen the thing. And maybe that's just my, okay. So for me personally, then this is my take on it. You don't have open discussions, as Julio said, as you said as well, Tristan. You don't have open discussions about revelations of a movie. I don't look at all plot points as being spoilers. I know that that's kind of a different line for different people. I think revealing information about, like, let's just take a movie like 1989's Batman and say, yeah, at one point, Jack Nicholson falls into the vat of acid and turns into the Joker. Well, if you've seen the trailers, you already know that. It's not exactly a spoiler. You know, there's certain things that just from seeing any of the marketing material, you already know. And I feel like it's the twists, it's the plot reveals, it's the thing that makes you actually, you know, gasp or whatever when you're watching the movie. Those are the things that you don't want to reveal. But as somebody who's written movie reviews, as all 3 of us are movie reviewers at one point or another, we've done a movie review, and you kind of learn etiquette there. It's like there's certain things in the first act you can kind of touch on, and then past that, you don't want to ruin anybody's experience or rob the excitement or the joy that you had experiencing it for the first time. So my personal rule is you just don't post open conversations about hidden or important things about movies. Now, the thing is we do live in a digital age where every news outlet is desperate to get clicks. So they, 20 minutes after the film or the television series has been released, are putting it front and center they've got to put it in the headline of the article, or otherwise you can't just title an article spoilers. And then the second it gets out into the ether, we have no control all of a sudden on who's sharing it where. So I think that kind of comes down to us as fans to say, like, yo, I don't want to know what happened on Mandalorian last night. Maybe I need to stay the fuck off Facebook until I watch it.
Yeah. Sometimes like that's how like the weeks that like the weekend of like a Star Wars movie comes out, if I can't see it that Friday or Thursday and I'm seeing it Saturday or Sunday, I'm off social media for a few days.
Right.
Yeah. But, going to what you're saying about, about media articles, there are ways as a media professional, and I'm speaking as somebody who was a media professional for 20 years, that you can write a headline that gets somebody's interest without spoiling it. And sometimes it is a matter of putting the word spoiler in the headline. TV Line is actually very good about that. They'll do that all the time. Deadline even, I think, has done that here and there. But there are ways to write around that kind of thing and get the interest and get the people that have already seen it that want to read more about it and discuss it without spoiling it for the rest of the audience.
It's just a tough thing, Julio, where like even if you want to watch episode, this is a bad example, but say I wanted to watch Mandalorian and didn't know where it was streaming, so I just Google Mandalorian. It's like the first things that are going to pop up are going to be the spoilers from the previous episode,
Yeah.
That's a tough thing.
If you're a responsible website, a responsible publication, you can find a way to write around that. So It's not the first, it may be the first thing that comes up when you Google it, but it doesn't come up with the spoiler information right there in your face.
So you do believe that these outlets have an obligation to, just for integrity's sake, that they should kind of dance around the actual spoiler as opposed to putting it in the headline?
I do, and the ones that have integrity do it. And then you have the sites that don't have integrity that don't.
Yeah.
And it's the same as these sites that post fake news clickbait.
Yeah.
We've got it covered, or that one in particular is the bane of my existence. Did you hear that Christian Bale's coming back? No, he's not.
Yeah, right. We got this covered is very bad. I think you were one of the first people that kind of alerted me to that. And then I was like, let me go see what this website's all. Oh, okay. This is like the star of news.
Yeah.
News
it's just
favors.
outright bullshit. Trying to get clicked.
Okay. So Tristan, what do you think merits a spoiler? No, that's a broad question.
Anything that's a major plot point, I think, for sure. Anything that would, especially if it's something that's a big surprise, but just in general, I'm not so bothered that like Baby Yoda's name got out there, and I think that ship at this point has pretty much sailed.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff that was in the meat of the most recent episode, I would not have wanted to read that online first. I would have been upset. But anything that's a big revelation or anything like that. That being said, at some point, there is a point where the onus goes off everybody else and on to the person that hasn't watched it yet. And from my personal experience, I can tell you, I started watching Battlestar Galactica, and then I stepped away from it for a while, and it'd been a few years. I spent literally years dodging Battlestar Galactica spoilers online.
Oh, wow.
Anytime it would come up in the discussion, I'd just quickly scroll past it and not look. And I managed to, when I went back to it, there wasn't much of anything that I had been spoiled on. So, it's possible to do it.
That's impressive.
I think people also need to know when to not complain because they've set up a minefield for themselves. Like my example, like I was talking about with wrestling, Wednesday night, there's 2 wrestling shows. I can't catch both of them. I got to watch one. I follow almost all of those wrestlers on Instagram. So right after both the shows are over, it's 10 o'clock. I pop on Instagram, I start scrolling, and I just see I see a wrestler who I didn't see his match, and I see him holding up the title, and I'm like, great, I know he won.
Oh man. Yeah, it's a tough kind of balancing act, and I do feel like it's personal to everybody because there are spoiler Nazis who are just sitting there waiting for an opportunity. hey, did you hear Christian Bale was, we're going back years here. Christian Bale was cast to play Batman. Spoilers, dude. It's like, no, that's going to be, that's the whole thing, what's another example of a thing that's not a spoiler?
So there's a difference between that and something like Sean Connery showing up at the end of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves as King Richard.
Yeah.
That was a spoiler because that was a surprise. Nobody knew that he was in that movie. It was kept a secret for a reason. And for people to walk out of that movie and say, oh man, I can't believe Sean Connery was in, that ruins that whole moment for everybody.
Agreed.
So there aren't really that many secrets like that anymore.
In casting news, you get them every once in a while here and there.
But the last big secret like that was probably that Split was an Unbreakable sequel.
That's actually a good call.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Great, and I'm glad that it was kept secret because that was awesome.
And then Vader showing up at the end of Rogue One. Did anybody know about that ahead of time?
Oh, the Vader thing?
Yeah.
I think we were all expecting a Vader scene, but not that.
Yeah. That I feel like that was definitely a nice little surprise of not knowing, and then the payoff of that. And if you came out of the theater and were like, dude, you can't wait to see Vader at the end of the movie, that would suck for the person that didn't know. So I know that it really does just come down to personal accountability, I think, all the way around. If my thing is, if you go online and if you're a movie fan and you go into a group called Movies Are Terrible or Southern Geek or Martial Arts Film Freak, there's an expectation that you as a fan have carried your part of the bargain. And if Mandalorian came out on, if it came out on Friday and it's now Tuesday and somebody posts a link to an article, is it my responsibility to delete that link or do I let it ride because at that point people had an opportunity to see it?
I'll tell you, here's an odd gray area though that I come to all the time is because I do movies that are so niche that a lot of people probably haven't seen them.
Right.
Like I'll talk about some 80s Shaw Brothers film that only some crazy Kung Fu fan has seen. I have to decide whether I really want to talk about this spoiler or not, because it's not a spoiler for these fans, but I'd say a vast majority of these other people don't even know the movie I'm even talking about. It's like talking about even just like if it's an indie film from 3 years ago, maybe not everybody has seen, I don't know, Dope or Blind Spotting or even Kubo and the Two Strings.
Great movies, man.
Do I spoil those movies? They're not huge, big blockbusters. Maybe not everyone has seen them,
That's a really good point.
It's a matter of knowing your audience. If you're trying to introduce people to those movies, no, you don't spoil it. If you're talking to an audience that you expect has already seen that kind of movie, then yeah, you're okay.
If you are modding Movies Are Terrible and somebody posted a spoiler for last episode of Mandalorian, would you delete it or would you leave it up? Julio?
I would probably delete it or hide it,
Okay.
depending on what it was.
Tristan, same situation.
I'd put that filter on it. I'd put that filter on it that says you have to like click here to see it.
Oh,
Yeah,
what? I didn't know you could do that shit.
You usually see that on like posts that have like something violent on it.
Oh wow! If that's an option, then that's beautiful.
Usually it'll say like sensitive material. Click here to see it, and it'll just be like a shade on it.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
I was just thinking, you're talking about what the last time there was a big surprise like that was, and I thought of what it is even after that, and that's Ezra Miller showing up as the movie Flash in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover on TV. That was not something anybody knew until it aired, and that was like a oh my god moment.
Matt Lane Fitness, are you still in the chat? What's up, dude? He said, "Oh, y'all talking about nerd shit? Yeah, of course, dude. You already know, man." And Chief Supreme in the chat also. I don't know if I said what's up to you, Chief, but I am always happy to see you, man. We got Johnny Rivera in here. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you before, so welcome. Matt Lane Fitness, yes, sir. Man, hope to see you soon. Maybe we can get up and hang out this weekend. Let me know about that. Just doing the thing. Hopefully we haven't had too bad of any latency issues or anything like that. I'm curious about how your your streaming situation's going. I need to stop by and check all that out. But yeah, man, I think we've rambled on for about an hour and 45 minutes. I feel pretty good about it. But before we do wrap this thing up, is there anything on y'all's minds? Julio, is there anything else we need to touch on before we finish this?
Not that I can think of, man. I like I said, we talked about a lot already, but that Warner Brothers news is it's impossible to overstate how massive that is, because this could lead to basically all the other major studios doing the same thing. It could mean a lot for the future of theatrical exhibition. You know, I think people still want to see movies on big screens. I think it still comes back, but if this is as big as it looks like it might be, and if Disney follows suit, forget it.
It's over. Yep.
Yeah, but if really any of the other major studios follow suit.
But is it game over? Didn't Mulan, they didn't make crap on Mulan, right?
Yeah, but they were stupid in how they handled Mulan.
Because they did charge.
You have to pay an extra $30 to watch it over and above your subscription.
Right.
Stupid, and there's a reason they're not doing that anymore, and that's why I think it's this week we get the new Pixar movie Soul, and that's just going straight on to Disney Plus with no premium or anything like that. And that's a movie, but that's not going to go to theaters either. It's a movie that would have been a big theatrical release.
That pretty much leaves us with I think that pretty much leaves us with Universal as far as big studios. If Disney and Warner Brothers bounce, then that's that's the lion's share of the entertainment
they've all got services. Universal owns NBC, which means they own Peacock. So start taking Fast and the Furious might go to Peacock and not go to theaters or
Oh man, that's gonna make Peacock hot, dude. I never even looked at that, and I think it's free, so I'm gonna need to check that out.
Yeah, it's kind of like Hulu. There's a tiered thing where you can get free with commercials or paid without commercials, and there's a premium version, yada yada, the whole thing.
Tristan, what about you, man? Before we wrap this thing up, you got any projects you're working on that I should know about?
Right now I'm working on the next sort of episode of the Kung Fu Essential. First was Donnie Yen, second was Jackie Chan. This next one I'm working on is 5 Jet Li movies that, if you want to not only get into his movies but into Kung Fu as a whole, 5 Jet Li movies that sum up all that.
You want to talk Mortal Kombat once that shit comes out?
Oh yeah, no, I'll talk Mortal Kombat.
For sure. Yeah, I do appreciate you guys stopping by to do this with me. It's always a pleasure. I feel like we just had a lot to touch on tonight, so thanks for doing that with me. I appreciate all of you in the chat very much. It means a lot to see the crew come through and stop by and say what's up and let me know you're here and contributing to the conversation. I mean, all you guys have wonderful insight, so I really do appreciate that. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor while you're here. Take a second, click that little thumbs up button. It really, really does help the channel. I don't exactly know the ins and outs of how or why, but all you got to do is just click the button. And if you're not already subscribed, which I know most of you are, go ahead and do me a favor, click that subscribe button, followed by the bell to enable notifications, and then just cross your fingers that those notifications come through when the videos actually get posted, because most of the time they don't. I don't know what that's about. But you can also just check back every couple days and just see what's going on. I do this every single Thursday at 6 p.m. CST. And then right now I'm doing one other video a week. As I had mentioned up at the top, I'm working on the Godzilla Is It Terrible video. Next week I'll be doing a BTS video for Holden Hardman's channel. The week after that, maybe some trivia. I know we're definitely going to be talking about some holiday movies soon, but it really does mean a lot. I hope you guys all have a safe and happy holiday, and to see you next time. Oh, Caleb Miles in the chat real quick. Caleb, you missed it, man. You missed it. And yeah. All right. Until next time, and on behalf of all of us. Oh, by the way, check down in the description. I will post links to all of their content. And until next time, and on behalf of all of us, be terrible. Peace. And